Cool,
So,
dude. Man, I got to give it to you that the episode you guys released yesterday was phenomenal.
oh yeah, co-creating reality.
Absolutely, dude. That was
Cool.
great.
Thanks.
Stuff I definitely relate to. I'm a big observer and always have been ever since a kid. I like observing stuff, especially nature and and pretty much just events that are happening around me. So I was definitely relating
Mhm.
to that. That's been a big
Yeah,
part of
at
my
all
journey.
times we're sort of the observer and the object and the subject essentially. You're that sort of cold, unfeeling camera eye that just sees what's there and doesn't, make any care about what it, it just shows you what's there. And then there's the subject, the actual experience of it, where you're feeling everything, and the interplay between those. Because sometimes you want to tap into that richness and the feeling, and other times it's more useful to stay centered and sort of non-reactive.
Absolutely. It's a process, right? That's a good portion of the self-mastery.
I mean, really balancing all things, and just it's something that's always going on. Like, you just imagine living your life walking on a tightrope, and you can fall off, but you get back on it. But eventually, you would probably just not even think about it anymore.
Yeah,
It's like on
absolutely.
autopilot.
For sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's I was talking with a buddy and we were talking about the importance of ritual and getting into uh kind of a magical tradition, right?
Mm,
That's where they focus
mhm.
on is trying to control um yourself, your emotions, your thought process, and eventually you kind of tweak that to have your own style. Um
Absolutely. And
but
it sounds so like mystical when you say that, but at the
Yeah.
same time, it is a legitimate science, and it's very straightforward as well. You're literally just programming your subconscious mind through repetitious actions and focused intentions. That's my definition of ritual, as simple as it gets. And, it really is important. And it's so interesting because it's all about building a relationship with yourself. So there is no right or wrong way to do it, as long as you're getting results from it. That's the ultimate, and that's the ultimate test of natural law, isn't it? Is it practical? Can you apply it and see it happen?
yeah, absolutely. For sure. Man, and that's a great definition too. So, excellent. Yeah, I dabbled in the beginning of my journey. I dabbled in so many of these traditions, and
Mhm.
I couldn't just stick to one, but I adapted and I utilized many of the effective techniques from these traditions. So,
Yeah, and that's interesting too, isn't it? That nowadays, where information is so much more easily accessible, it's not this backroom dealing kind of, initiation into a private sect, a school, a mystery school, and you're going to walk that path, probably more exclusively, um, versus the modern day occultist that's really just kind of learning all of it as a tapestry, and extrapolating those areas that overlap, because, as we know, truth is always consistent, and there's many ways to discover it, but it's always there just waiting for you. So
yeah.
that's it's an interesting time to be alive, to be able to find this stuff so easily, and kind of form your own relationship with it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, it's a great time for that. And I still see people looking for the end all tradition or style. It's like,
Mhm.
once you figure out the the foundation, then you can apply it.
Yeah, well, it's like the authoritarian mindset still playing out in all these little kind of ways. Whether, for example, so going into a school, that disciplinary structure can be really useful if the intentions are pure behind that, having that sort of seasoned elders to guide you along the way, versus that could very easily get co-opted and just become a very rigid, cult essentially.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
And that's one thing that we lack today in today's modern world, right? Is elders. Um,
And
well,
respect for their
yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Definitely. And so, people are always looking for that authoritative figure. And in reality, I mean, it's right there in nature within yourself.
Mhm.
And the elders, used to be the guides to kind of show you those obvious um, things in nature. But
Right. Yeah, the gaslighting is the easy part.
yeah.
Once they bombarded you with you're not an authority, you're not sovereign on a subconscious level, and then when you actually accept that at a subconscious level, then you're subject to any of the many trappings that are placed out there of looking for that authority figure, that sovereign figure outside of yourself, you know.
Oh yeah, definitely. Hold on one second, Logan. Yeah, it looks good. The girls are they're making some homemade salsa.
All
So
right.
yeah, they're getting in, man. Getting it
I
from the
love it.
garden and everything, dude. It's
Oh
great.
man. Yeah, we're not there yet, but we've got some good herbs and stuff going right now.
Oh, awesome, man.
Yeah.
It's a great time. I see more and more people getting into gardening and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
it's a great time for that.
Mhm.
I'm always promoting sustainability, some form or another.
Right.
It's good to have those life skills.
Right. Solutions.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, for sure.
And talk about the problems all day, but the solutions is the end goal. Otherwise, you're basically choosing to stay stuck in victim mentality and just you're on a hamster wheel of woe is me and
Yeah, that
kind
that
of
that
self-destruct.
feedback loop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, for
Exactly.
sure, dude, for sure. One thing I wanted to talk about, and one thing I noticed is a lot of people that are coming into this type of information are still looking at morality as subjective.
Hmm.
And it you know someone like us that has this kind of information, that's kind of basic, that's a no-brainer, right? The
Hmm.
absolute truth, the how morality is objective, for sure. People keep confusing their perception um, with reality.
I mean, I think it's important to really go into the nuance of this topic. It's very much not a black and white thing, and I see morality as an objective dynamic via the laws that are in place, but there are a lot of peripheral aspects to it that are very, I guess you could say, like a gradient. You know what I mean? Where it doesn't just cross from moral to immoral. There's a lot of areas that play into it, uh, in terms of all of the components of what dynamics or variables you're looking at in any given situation. Uh, you know, how are you defining harm? Uh, how are you? Where's the line in consent when a person is kind of half conscious, and, or very inebriated? There are situations where
Sure.
and what I'm getting at here is it's not that we as humans are going to make up what right and wrong is. And sometimes we can't exactly determine what is harm for another person, if they're the one being violated. But it is for us to make our best choices from a heart-based intelligence, state of consciousness, basically. And sometimes there are situations where you could literally argue both sides would have been the more moral thing to do, and maybe they're both right. Not everything is just super nice and neat and clean cut. And I think a lot of even truthers and occultists are still kind of looking for that, dare I say, authority figure, whether it's the Kybalion or the Bible, some sort of just external set of laws like, oh, well, if we just follow this, then we won't have to think for ourselves and actually decide and have our own discernment and exercise our own conscience, of what is right or wrong. So
Yeah.
I think that's an important aspect to be looking at in the entirety of this subject. It's very, very deep and complex for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Um, and that's what it's about too, is discernment as well.
Mhm.
That's
Right. I mean, what else? What else is the point of having a consciousness if you're here to just observe everything, and everything's all just one at all times? Then why would you even come here? In order to enact change, you're discerning that your will is to create a better reality than the one that is currently occurring, right?
sure.
Or a worse one if you have bad intentions, but you're still having discernment through I'm going to choose to do this rather than not. And in order to do that, you need the intellect to divide things into good and bad, or useful or not useful, or dangerous or passive, things like that. it's
Yeah.
it's useful.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh man, that's
And
great.
so, yeah, I mean that plays into the whole journey versus the destination, because you hear a lot in the new age circles about it's just all about the journey, and it's like, well, if your journey is just wandering like mindlessly through the woods, then that doesn't sound like much of a journey. It sounds like you're confused, right? The
Yeah.
destination gives meaning and context to the journey, but so does the journey give meaning and context to the destination. They're both, kind of a yin and yang thing. They're separate, but also very much integrated as into each other.
Yeah, that's definitely like a mind trap to get into. Even thinking that oh, it's a simulation and it's all about the journey and it
Hmm.
doesn't, things don't matter. It's all about your own experience.
Right.
That
It's
can
the
be
right brain,
very
and
absolutely.
back the feminine side that's just all about the experience, and just like we were talking about earlier, experiencing things versus just observing. And then the masculine is going to you know man, I totally lost my train of thought. You're saying,
We were talking about I was talking about the mind
oh
trap. It
yeah,
was the right brain dominance.
yeah, and then the left brain masculine is what is more objective oriented, right?
Sure.
I always like to kind of look at the way men and women shop, right? The guy, he has a list, and he's there and he's like, okay, I need this, this, and this, and so this is the shortest route through the store, and I'll check out on this side because it's closer to the car, and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And then the female is of course going to look at all the dresses and start trying things on because she wants to just experience the bliss of now, and kind of like not think about what's coming next, that
Yeah.
sort of thing.
That's
And
great.
again, both are useful and beautiful in their own ways and necessary.
Yeah, striking that good balance, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta have a good balance of both.
Hmm.
Um, one thing I wanted to ask you too is, can you talk about the importance of getting in touch with your ancestral roots?
Hmm. Absolutely, yes. That's a subject that I'm obviously very passionate about. Anyone who follows my work, but
Sure.
I can, honestly say I haven't been on that path for very long. Really, meeting my business partner and best friend Brian Easterday. That was the summer of 2018, I guess. And so um, before that, I hadn't really even considered uh, the value, I guess you could say, of looking into that and tapping into that for
Mm,
several reasons. So, first of all, I had sort of been fallen under some of the gaslighting of, white people don't have a culture, we're just these mutts that raped and pillaged our way into this amalgamation of, you know what I mean? Like that
yeah.
is a very false narrative of history. And I never really, I always thought, Viking stuff was cool, but I didn't pursue it like in the context of knowing that that is actually where I came from. And so, what I will say is, from a magical perspective, from a metaphysical perspective, you're tapping into a very powerful charge that is contained in your blood. the blood is a very, very powerful vessel for energy. Water is the most receptive. You can store memories, and there's charge it with moonlight and all these things. And blood is largely made of water, so it's a container of energy. And by way of ritual, which is, as I said, a repetitious action imbued with psychic energy, then you can imbue an object with that intention,
Mm.
essentially. So you could turn an empty Coke can into a magical object if you're performing a ritual and you're charging it repetitively. And so your blood was being charged with these rituals and these practices and these symbols, runes and things like that, being charged again and again over, lots of generations, with very tremendous energy. And so, sure, you can practice and follow any traditions that you would like, anything that you connect with, but why wouldn't you want to just tap into that powerful charge that's already there? That's a smart alchemist that's going to tap into that rich energy source to then wield and transmute.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's the RNA, DNA, right? It's information,
Hmm.
information in the
Absolutely,
blood that
code.
gets exactly the blood codes. And so yeah, there's huge information there, and so it's definitely good to tap into that.
Yeah, I mean, what I've said doesn't even scratch the surface on it, but
Oh yeah,
even that's enough. But
definitely.
yeah, I mean, I'm still moving towards uh, new depths of understanding and appreciation and integration with some of these mindsets and practices. And, still, of course, thinking for myself using discernment. Some of them are very ancient mindsets. And wisdom is eternal, but wisdom itself is also an ever evolving process. And so, that's kind of the paradox about truth, is that it's both simple and infinitely complex at the same time.
Mm,
I could say I have a vehicle, and that would be a true statement. But then I could say I have a 2005 RAV4, and that would also be true, but it's also more true because it's more specific.
yeah.
So there's no depth to which I could just completely keep adding on to. It's made of atoms, and you know what I mean, like, because everything is connected. And it's been said that the secrets of the universe are contained in a blade of grass, because it's all the laws of nature are all built in the macro and the micro and everything, all
Yeah.
in the all.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
That's
Um,
a wormhole.
it definitely is, and I'm just kind of starting on that journey too. It's almost been a calling, right? Since I was young, to kind of go back to that type
Mm.
of where my roots are, and then also I always want to revert to a more paganism fundamental way of living,
Hmm.
and I can see that evolving in kind of with like a modern technology form to it.
Hmm.
And
Absolutely.
I definitely think that that's a great answer for where humans need to evolve towards.
Right,
So
man. Yeah, I put that on the homepage of our website, that our whole thing is we aim to create or cultivate a synthesis of
mm,
ancient understandings with new ways of thinking, new technologies. Being a modern day wizard, that may sound cheesy, but it's very true, in
mhm.
a sense. So, um, it's a really amazing time to be alive and have so much information and so many very awesome tools, technological tools that make the work easier. And like, there's just so many things that I'm doing right now that I wouldn't even know where to begin doing. Probably never would begin.
Yeah, you guys got some good stuff in the works coming up.
Well, yeah, I mean, we stay uh, a few ahead on episodes, if possible, because it's nice to have that buffer in case somebody's you know unavailable to schedule things or that sort of
Sure.
thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Smart.
we're doing a lot of things kind of at our own pace, like working on a book. Um, we want to do a documentary, and we brainstorm every now and then on some notes, and that list will continue to grow. And but it'll be a little while because we're actually as individuals working on a lot of our own personal endeavors as well,
Yeah.
on online marketing kind of stuff. So
Awesome, dude. That's what's up.
yeah,
Yeah,
but it's
that's
nice because all of that will sort of trickle down into the benefits doing all that stuff and having those skills. It's only going to continue to make the Wizard Factory platform better too.
oh yeah. That's a great platform too, man. I recommend it to anybody to check it out, dude. You guys got great information.
Thank you.
So, yeah, dude. Um, and that's what it's all about. That's what you guys pretty much the crux of what you promote is self-mastery and taking that your power back and
Hmm.
and utilizing that to the fullest.
Understanding what is your personal responsibility and what isn't, and that there's some discernment right there as well. But that's one of the most important central things I think too, because if you can get that down, anything else is just going to be way easier to navigate because everything is somehow going to play into your boundaries and knowing how to stand up for them while also respecting other people's boundaries. It's the two pillars. I'm
Sure.
sure you talk about that a lot, Will.
Yeah.
Don't start nothing, won't be nothing.
Exactly.
That simple.
Do no harm, take no shit.
Hmm.
Yeah, man. So, how are things over in you're in Texas? You guys kind of opened up everything. Your guys' state is opened up slowly.
Yeah, they're doing like a 25% capacity on a few things. I think they're doing like definitely restaurants and a couple of other type of businesses, but there's still no spas or barbershops or anything like that. But I think here in about 9 days or so, they're going to kind of have another phase of more opening, that sort of thing. So they're kind of easing into it. It's I think pretty ridiculous still at this point,
Yeah.
but at least things are progressing, I guess, back to some semblance of normalcy, especially so I can get back to work, doing one of my main sources of income, which is driving Uber.
Got it. Nice.
Mm.
Yeah, this coming week is when they're gonna start slowly opening things up, and it's been like fucking Twilight Zone out here, man. It's a trip. It is a
Yeah,
trip.
actually, yeah, I did go to LA a few weeks ago. My partner's friend basically paid us to fly into LA, go to her house, and bring her three Sphinx naked cats back
Oh wow.
in her car.
Yeah.
So that's quite an interesting experience. It was actually pretty fun.
That's the
But
exact cat that Sarah and Violet want. It's
mhm,
hairless, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
well, yes, but they are kind of like a peach. They're kind of
Oh
fuzzy.
yeah. Yeah, for sure.
It's not. It's yeah. It's a trip, man. They're like as if cats weren't aliens enough, but a hairless cat is it's super alien. You just feel them reading your thoughts and implanting things in your head and stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that I'm that guy that kind of communicates with animals like that. Like I always
Mm,
give animals a personality and through their body language,
yeah,
we're fully communicating and stuff. I've always been like that. And
that's funny.
all animals just trip me out. So
Yeah,
that's funny.
yeah. I do some voice acting stuff, and so like all our cats have their own voice and personality. It's hilarious.
That's great, dude. Yeah, Violet and I, we had a good lesson last evening. We found a lizard in the pool. Unfortunately, the lizard fell in and couldn't get out.
Oh,
So it was a good opportunity to kind of communicate the dynamics of like life and death, and that stuff with her. Of course, she was taking it hard, and
Mm,
she, and even when
yeah.
she's almost 7 now, but when she was younger, she was the type to, you know, bury a ladybug or a
Mm,
praying mantis, and she'll still cry about that.
so
But
sweet. Yeah.
yeah, she's that innocence tapped in there.
Man, that's really interesting. Yeah, we actually just recorded a an episode about death. It's not released yet, but it's ironic that you brought that up because I
Awesome,
think that that's yeah. m- Many people have a very unhealthy viewpoint on death and
for sure.
of an unhealthy relationship with death because obviously death is inevitable. It's not a matter of if, it's when, and the sooner you can really actually make peace with that, you're going to be very liberated in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, it's got some heavy stigmas attached to it, right? I always tell
Yeah.
people, yeah, I'm a student of life, but I'm a student of death as well. You know,
Mm,
it's
mm,
one and the same, just different polarities.
yes, I
And
like that.
yeah, oh, absolutely. And it's just been a year since my mom passed, and everyone, you know, during that time, it even though it was sad, it wasn't. Uh, it was more of um, like a celebration of her life, and so yeah, no, it was fine, but
Mhm,
that's got some heavy dogma attached to it too, right? Death. It's
mhm.
like that's the one fear that people kind of need to conquer um, within themselves.
Right, because it's ultimately it's a fear of the unknown, which is
Exactly.
all fear is fear of the unknown or via ignorance,
Yeah.
and people don't know what's going to happen when they die. Therefore, they fear it. They don't want to experience that because what if it's bad, But
Yeah.
everything in nature indicates that it's not bad. It's not even an end. It's a beginning
Sure. It's a
of something.
transition, right?
Transition.
You
Yeah,
can
yeah.
observe that in nature.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Nice.
yeah. Before I give
Oh yeah, I was just gonna
too
say
much of
before
the
we get
episode.
deep into that, we're gonna give away your whole episode. Yeah, but so that was a good experience just communicating with my daughter about that,
Mhm,
and she gets it. And that's one thing that I've noticed about kids, especially observing my daughter, is that they come into this world already understanding natural law,
mhm.
and then, you know, with indoctrination it's kind of programmed out of them,
Pushed out. Yeah,
pushed out.
absolutely.
Yeah, so I've learned so much just by talking with her, and it's amazing um that the knowledge that children have.
Hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's as much as natural law is central to a empowered mindset. It's just as central to, I think, what is most governing or playing into the development of a child is how much you either quelch that in them or encourage and cultivate that in them because it, it all comes from that care,
Mm,
that curiosity that we know children have. They ask all kinds of questions. They love learning. And then you talk to them a few years later after enough, time in the school system, and they say, "I hate learning. It's boring. It sucks," because
yeah.
it's it's been associated in their brain to such a degree that that's what learning is. It's not interacting with nature and the laws and observing and getting those lessons there. It's take them out of life, put them in a completely sterile box, and teach everything through textbooks and theory and everything like that. So
Yeah, absolutely.
it's crippling.
Oh, it definitely is. It's so inverted, right? To just
Absolutely.
the natural experience. And we're homeschooling our daughter, and you know, my parents are scared shitless, like, oh, you know, you guys, that like we're gonna do it wrong or it's not gonna be efficient. And it's and that's just dogma in itself. It's like, you know, I mean,
Mhm.
the whole world's a schoolyard, and experience is the best teacher.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I mean, it really can all boil down to meaning, this the essence or the substance of things, because you need a context, you need a why that is going to determine why you even bother, taking out the trash or doing, getting out of bed or anything else. Um, and so, like, if you woke up in a room, like say in the Saw movies, even though that's a scary movie, what's the first thing that goes into your head? Like, well, where am I? Why am I here? And what do I need to do about it? Well,
yeah.
that should always be your questioning anywhere. Like, we sort of wake up as babies in this strange place full of sights and sounds and smells and everything else. And, we want to learn, what is this place? Why am I here? It's the natural tendency of an open mind. And so that's so important to really preserve and keep intact as you mature.
Oh yeah, and it's funny that kids usually around 4, 5, 6 they go through that why phase as well, right? They're always
Mhm.
asking why. Well, why is this,
Mm,
Daddy? Why is this, Mommy? And a lot of people think that could be like an annoying stage or
mm.
whatever is attached to it, but it's great opportunity to start explaining things and tackle those questions, even the simple ones. Why is the sky
Oh,
blue? It's like,
I love that you bring that up, because I think that that's the age when they're really going to learn to trust themselves versus to submit to an authority. Because when the hormones start kicking into the bodily systems, and there's that pushback, there's that, but why? The teenage rebellious notorious spirit there of like questioning authority. Well, that's why, is like, it is that why something, is that why legitimate, is it because I said so? That's the rhetoric of an authoritarian, is there is no why, just do it, obey me.
yeah.
Versus, there's a good reason I'm trying to, it's for your own good, that sort of thing. Like an authentic parental figure, which obviously there is a good place for that in the context of raising a child, because children, there's a gradient for you.
Yeah.
The you know it, their sovereignty is a gradient as they're growing up, because when they're a baby, they're completely helpless. If you let them be totally sovereign, they would die within a day.
Mm.
That's the thing, is so like that interplay between the child learning their boundaries and their formulating their own ideas about things and all that, versus the parents learning to sort of wean them off of that, smother mother dynamic.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a crucial opportunity, right? Because they're sponges. They're taking in everything,
Mhm,
the formative years. So,
mhm,
yeah, definitely a crucial opportunity. I love it personally. It's like,
mhm,
the wilder the question, the better for me. And yeah, I mean, it's all about honesty, right? We're stewardships as parents,
mhm.
and uh,
Yes.
and that's the whole goal is to give them a good foundation, moral foundation, and protect them, obviously, and then eventually set them off into the world. And
Mhm.
so, yeah,
Yeah, and I'm not a parent yet, but I can imagine how difficult that would be at times to know what's the best thing, a choice that's erring on the side of respecting their autonomy, even though it may somehow come back and hurt them. But guess what? They're going to learn that valuable lesson, versus it's too much of a risk, you're putting your foot down and saying no, that sort of thing, because you can't know what the actual outcome is and how severe the consequences would be. But in my perception, being a parent is a lot to do with assessing the risks, and you're kind of creating like a insulation barrier to the real world,
mm,
by which for them to like interact with a learning simulator that you're sort of overlaying their life, right? Where, okay, here's a problem that maybe you can, like, you can handle on your own. And then, like, if they fail, the consequences aren't so bad that you're pretty much being a bad parent at that point, right? And not really
yeah,
protecting them. So, Yeah, it's an interesting dance for sure. I'm
Oh,
looking
definitely.
forward to it.
Yeah, all about discernment on that aspect,
Yes,
definitely,
yes.
and, it's great that, I kinda came into this information and was really, diving deep, and pretty much as my daughter was born, during that time is when I was getting into this information, so it's a really good test, as a parent to apply the
Mm,
information to myself and, also, raising a child, so, it
mhm,
really
yeah.
puts the test on. It's good.
Yeah,
It's good
I've
stuff.
heard a lot of people attest that having a child or conceiving a child was the thing, the catalyst that really like shook them awake. Whether it's uh learning why they put all these chemicals in baby food, or like there's so many different ways that can awaken a mind into thinking, wow, I have to care about this other helpless being and protect them from the world. And then you start actually realizing how much harm is being directed at us from the system, and it's just normalized and thought of as business as usual. And they're like, well, this isn't okay, because now they care for this child. They want they're looking at what world they've brought their spawn into, at that point.
Oh, yeah, definitely. The masculine and the feminine, right? At least for me, it was, okay, protect my child at all costs
Mm-hmm.
and do anything I can, um, to nurture, um, just her growth.
Mm-hmm.
So those whys start coming up, it's like,
Exactly.
wait, why give my daughter vaccines? Why do this? Why do that? Why that food? So
Right.
it
Well,
definitely gets to the bottom answers.
it seems like any kind of change is really the kind of the common denominator there, because as things are changing via the feedback loop of interaction of the subject and the macro and the micro, um, things are occurring that are shifting, and they're upsetting your status quo, your normalcy. And so why is the natural question, because as things are occurring innately in our consciousness, we understand on a very, very deep level that everything happens for a reason. It
Mm.
doesn't mean it's a good reason, or it's God like sprinkling fairy dust on you or anything. It just means that for every event, there was a cause. There was something that set that in motion. And why is how you get there. Asking why, whether to yourself or the universe, is opening that door into, I want to know about natural law. I want to know about what the causal factors behind why things happen, because that's where the real power is. When you know more of the why, you know how to direct by being your own cause of change and having a bigger influence and effect on reality. And hopefully you're a good person and you're using that kind of power with, care based intentions.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That's powerful. That's great stuff. Um,
Love it.
let me ask you a personal question, if you don't mind. What was
Sure.
the? Did you have a catalyst to kind of waking up? Um,
Yeah, there was many actually,
okay.
and it was kind of via the law of vibration. It was a very pendulum swinging from
Mm,
one side to the other, but each one closer to the center. So
got it.
the starting point for me was just being raised in a Christian home and being very spiritually suppressed and stagnant, and it just kind of reached a critical point. As I was legally an adult around that time, that I could tell that my soul wasn't being stimulated by the church and the beliefs anymore. It just, I was like, there's a lack here, something, I this isn't doing it for me. So I really swung pretty hard into the left brain scientism, atheism, nihilism mindset,
Mm,
because that's kind of the big, antithesis to religion is science, right? It's this, like science is being ignored by Christians because creation theory and all this kind of thing. People that
yeah.
take the Bible literally and all this, and it's obviously, it doesn't work there. And then, quantum physics and questioning like where does reality even stem from in, in the brain, and can we tell the difference between what we remember and what we're actually perceiving in real time, things like that. And then from there, uh, that's when I kind of like stumbled into the conspiracy realm and took my red pill, so to speak. And so that was a pretty big process there of first making peace with, okay, the world's really messed up, there's really evil people in power, and everything's pretty much a lie that we've been told. But
Yeah.
then integrating that and starting to learn again the why.
Oh, hold on. I'm getting some friction over the airwaves.
How did this happen? That's still just a stepping stone because, oh, we got some lag there.
Just a little bit. Yeah, just a few seconds. You're back.
Okay, I think it's catching now. Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
I don't know where it cut off, but I can resume.
It was only for me. It was only like the last 10 seconds.
Okay. I'll just repeat from like the satanic pedophile part.
Okay. Yeah.
Like essentially, it's all the world's run by these satanic pedophiles, and the satanic aspect led me to the occult, and first thinking that it was evil, and just this malicious magic stuff that's very tied into that Christian mindset. And then but then upon further examination, realizing that though the occult is largely being used as a weapon, it's simply knowledge, which is a tool, which is neutral. It's all in how it's used, and actually by picking up the same tool that's being used against us, we're empowering ourselves to rise above that, mind warfare, mental warfare.
Yeah.
So and then that's when I think I had come closest to finding my center, because then I tried DMT for the first time, and I kind of started going way down the metaphysical realm and learning about chakras and energy, and I totally changed how I was eating. I became vegan very strictly for a while, and then um, obviously discovered voluntarism and how that was all integrating, and just learning more about the occult and how it's really all one thing. Your own sovereignty, is not just a political thing. It's not the Bill of Rights. It's so much more than that on a spiritual level. And so
Yeah.
really like getting to the heart of all of that, and all of these things, like I said, they're useful, but they're not the end all be all. You can't just say like these people that find anarchy and they're just hardcore ANCAPs, and that's it. They found the truth and now they're fine. There's still so much stagnation, in that sort of mentality of just clinging to some kind of idea that is true, but then you're sort of using that to just stay where you're at and not continue to deepen your understanding and scope of perspective.
Yeah, those cul-de-sacs like that where people just end on a certain point and that's where they're stuck in for a long time, maybe even the rest of their lives. That's dangerous. You almost have to
Mm.
the teacher student um uh platform always has to be going. It doesn't matter how much information you've taken. If you're on a certain level, you always can learn more and apply that
Mm.
to
Absolutely.
life. So
Ever the student and the teacher. It's an
yeah,
ongoing process. It's like a battery, taking in information and putting it back out in the form of power.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a few catalysts. DMT was one of them, but I kind of already
Mm.
started to wake up, but that kind of just pushed me right over the cliff.
Exactly.
So yeah, my first experience was pretty powerful at my parents' ranch, and really, really threw the why in the mix for me. Seeing how everything literally came alive, the hills, the grass, everything.
Maybe that's why it's
It's awesome.
illegal.
Yeah, exactly, right? But and yes, I'm a huge, huge activist for psychedelics when they're used properly under good context.
So funny.
There
That's
was a
another
time I was
episode we
like, What's that?
That's seriously, that's just another episode we just recorded about plan teachers.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah,
Sweet.
good.
That's right up my alley. Yeah,
Yeah.
after my first experience, I was like, okay, everybody should try DMT. Do it now as soon as possible. I backpedaled on that. That's definitely not the way
Yeah.
to go.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that was
Mhm.
very irresponsible of me. But I think there's I hope people get to that place in their journey where they're ready to experience that
Mhm.
if they need it. It's their technologies, their teachers, they're there. Um,
Right. That's I like that you call it a technology because again, I think your consciousness is largely linked with genetic code, which we talked about earlier. And
mhm.
so there is a very mechanical aspect to reality. The materialist mindset is half wrong, but also half right. The universe is a machine. Our bodies are machines, but they are metaphysical, spiritual, energetic machines that have many more layers than just the material aspects of them. But yeah, even DMT, was a catalyst for that too. Just sort of like pulling back the curtains just a little bit of the beyond realms and things that are occurring.
Yeah, and I've used psychedelics on that kind of those experiences, exploring,
Mhm.
gathering information, and it was definitely some good experiences. But the initial one, I kind of already was on more of like the new age mindset, coming out of a dark time in my life,
I'm
and
frozen here.
then oh, we're breaking up a little bit. Are you back?
Yeah, I think you're caught up. Yeah,
Okay, cool.
I'm
Yeah,
sure
and
in the
then
recording it caught all that.
oh,
Might just
definitely.
be my connection. I don't know.
Well, I'm in my studio in my garage. Sometimes it kind of gets a little squirrely. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I had some good experiences and good catalysts. So that was it threw the why into my mind, and then it was just a journey of knowledge and self discovery from there.
Right. Yeah.
So
I mean, even that whole story that I just told about the swinging from kind of one camp to the next, but you know, honing it in. I feel like that where it really actually kind of like met and the beam of light came out was the point of realizing, that it's all here. It's all here. It is about you. Um, you were incarnated here to experience and to achieve a certain outcome via what your soul is here to do in order to develop and grow. And so, you know, like all those aspects of where am I, where am I, like, what is this place? There's the where, and so the question is begging the answer of the out here, but the same question contains I. Where am I?
mm,
So
yeah.
where do I fit into all of this? What am I supposed to be doing? And how am I going to actually achieve that? How do I navigate and overcome the obstacles that are preventing me from doing that? Those are all important questions to answer for yourself.
Oh yeah, absolutely, definitely. Um, we're coming up on an hour, but I wanted to say this. So when I was a kid, I was always into role playing games, fantasy type
Hmm.
role playing games,
Me too.
and it just resonated with me, and I always thought like I had a past life in that type of time period, whenever that was. But then I realized that I'm in a role playing game.
Hmm.
That's what this is. So I've always wanted to be in one of those role playing games, and then realizing that I am
Your dream
in
came
the
true. You got
yeah,
what you wanted.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yep,
you're the
exactly.
hero of your own story, and you get to level up and advance your skills and go on adventures and take quests and all that fun stuff. Yeah, I came to the same conclusion.
Yeah,
It's like, and I still very much enjoy video games as a, you know, an entertainment or a pastime, or dare I say, even an escape from time to time. I don't think there's anything wrong with, in moderation.
sure.
But it did dawn on me at some point that I cared more about leveling up in the game than I did my own life. Like I was putting more effort into leveling up my character than I was, actually reading books and practicing making songs and things like that. Like
Yeah.
that's a disparity that needs to be addressed. And I think that's part of growing up, right? Kids, they haven't found their soul path yet. They haven't fully come to know themselves as well. So it really is just about, they just want to have fun, and that's fine. But you can just hear the dad, like, you guys go out there and do something with your life, son. Get off the couch.
You're wasting your
That kind of thing.
time. Yeah.
You're wasting your life.
Yeah, that's true. They haven't kind of realized the spiritual energetic currency of time and attention. So,
Mhm.
and time to time I'll dabble with some games. Violet likes watching me and stuff like that play, and but I can't get because I can definitely go way deep on a game, especially if it's got a good plot and story. But
Oh
then
yeah.
it's like, all right, I'm putting too many hours into this.
Oh, dude, I'm sure
And
the new Assassin's Creed is more
oh
setting,
gosh,
called
oh for
Valhalla.
sure, yeah,
Dude,
oh
it looks so
definitely,
badass.
yeah.
Just the trailer was getting me emotional, man.
Yeah, no, I might have to invest some escapism in that just for a little bit
Mhm,
on some
mhm,
downtime. But
totally.
dude, that's great, man.
Right on, man.
Yeah, it's been an hour, man. Thank you so much for coming on and having a chat with me,
It's been a
man.
pleasure.
This was a great conversation, dude. I appreciate it.
You too, Will. Thanks for having me, man.
No doubt. Hope to do it again in the future, and look forward to the future episodes from the Wizard Factory.
Yeah, thanks again, man. Anybody who's curious, you can go to thewizardfactory.com. All of our products and services and anything, is all offered there. So go check that out. And thanks again, man.
Absolutely. No doubt. Have a good day, man. Appreciate it.
You too.
All right,
Bye.
brother. Bye bye.